Cedric Gray of North Carolina. KB, what were your kind of takeaways from Gray watching him?
Yeah, so the first thing looking at Cedric Gray is the experience and production profile he has during his time at North Carolina. Over his last 3 seasons, he's played in 39 games, racked up 368 tackles, 29 tackles for loss, 8.5 sacks, and 5 interceptions. So, I mean, he checks the boxes as far as experience, production. It's nice to see that, right? He's been on the field a lot, and he's put up splash plays, a little bit of ball production, and tackles. So, always like to see that. He shows good play speed. He strikes me as a run and chase kind of linebacker, for the most part, watching him play. He ran a 4.64 40 at the combine at 6'1", 234. It's a pretty solid time. Some of the other guys ran a little faster, but it's a pretty solid time. And it's, it shows on tape. He's got good range and stuff. I think he does have some 3-down upside. You see some flashes in coverage. He graded as a 78 coverage grade in 2023, which is pretty nice. And, he's got 5 career interceptions, like I said, so a little bit of ball production there. I thought he was also, he's pretty effective blitzer at times, and it showed up, with his 29 tackles for loss and 8.5 sacks there. So, I mean, he's made plays behind the line, so he could be, used in that regard as well. So he's got a little 3-down upside to his game. Some of the things, as far as the cons were, missed tackles were an issue. 21 missed tackles in 2021, 17 in 2022, and 19 in 2023. I just think he needs to clean that up. That's too many misses. I mean, that's 19 a year on average. That's quite a few. I know he was out there a lot, but it's pretty high numbers. I think along those missed tackle regards, I thought there were some reps where he would leave his feet and dive to make a tackle where he necessarily didn't have to. It just kind of a technique thing. I think if you tighten that up, he might clean up some of those misses. Athletic guy, he's just trying to make plays. Like, I get it, but there's just too many misses. I thought he showed some willingness to take on blocks, but I thought overall he kind of struggled with the physicality with the big fellas too. Those are kind of the bigger takeaways, or the missed tackles and the physicality, end of things as far as the cons go. But how about you?
Yeah, I think a lot of the same cons for sure. And yeah, as far as like pros go, like I'll start there, just kind of like with him in run defense. I thought like that was one of the bigger positives I took from him. Like, he had some really great reads and kind of awareness on the field. And I think that comes with like that experience that you mentioned, right? Like, he commits to his reads. He plays aggressive to try to make those tackles. And the only thing is, like, it could work for him or it could work against him, right? And just depending on how good his read actually is. And, I at least from him, I appreciated the kind of commitment, at least from diving at guys to try to make those tackles, which was more than I could say for some other names on this list who we'll get into here. But there were definitely moments with him where I was kind of like, wow, like that's a hell of a read, great instincts. And then there are times where I'm like, oh, he might just be guessing and hoping for the best here. But that being said, 10.9% run stop rate over the past 2 years combined is 4th best in this class. So that aggressiveness and ability to make tackles around the line of scrimmage, it's there. But yeah, you mentioned it too. Like, the biggest problem for me, he needs to be kept clean in order to deliver, because like shedding and getting off of blocks, it wasn't a strong point, right? He gets washed out a ton. It's going to be a problem in the NFL when facing bigger and stronger players. And he never really, improved throughout this past season in that regard, which I saw, which kind of a concern for me. He just snuffed out regularly by offensive linemen and even tight ends, to the point where he's getting pushed back like 5 yards at a time. Right. So that was one of the main concerns, at least as a run defender. In coverage, I thought he did a fine job kind of getting to receivers in open space, but overruns his target or just flat out misses the tackle. It doesn't look pretty. I thought he played a little bit out of control at times. That aggression, like we said, could work to his advantage as a run defender. It rarely kind of works out in coverage. So the coverage grades, like you said, they're actually okay, but I just worry that he looks a little lost at times playing zone and over pursuing and some bad angles. They're just going to be killer for him in the NFL. So I guess not as optimistic about him like being like a 3-down guy. Not right now anyways, not to say that he can't develop into that, but there's just I guess I had some more concerns just with him in coverage, and like you said, I mean, 57 missed tackles over the
Yeah,
last 3 seasons as a starter, like that like you said, nearly 20 a year, right? So he just
yeah,
gets washed out a ton, which is always a concern too. Combine that with the missed tackles, and those are two kind of crucial negatives on him translating to the NFL, especially as a starter. But I like the experience. That's a one thing. I like the aggressiveness. I think that could turn into something, over time in the NFL. But he's one of those guys that I'm probably concerned about being like a day one starter
yeah.
coming into the league, right?
Oh, I am with you there. I think his tape was hot and cold. Like, like you mentioned, the coverage, like he does, yeah, like it would be one rep, he would have his feet on him, would be a little more under control, be where he needs to be. In the next play, he's just, helmet down, ready to make a play. And like
Yeah.
you said, when you're going after ball carriers is one thing, but when you have a responsibility, in zone or something, that you can't just be overrunning your fit. So no,
Yeah.
I totally get. I think he's, I think he has a little 3-down potential, but it's going to take a little time. I don't necessarily think he's going to walk in and be ready to do that right off the jump. So
Yeah, for sure. Did you have like a favorite landing spot for him at all?
yeah, this class was a lot of fun to pick landing spots.
Yeah, I know, right?
um, so I picked Arizona.
Oh,
So I'm not sure. I was kind of picking for different guys, and I ended up going with Arizona. Kaiser White's on his last year of his deal. Chris Barnes was brought back in 1-year deal. Mac Wilson, 1-year deal. They drafted Owen Peppo last year in the 5th round. Guy, he kind of had some potential. I think they could take a shot on a guy like Cedric Gray on day 3 and let him learn from those veterans, because Kaiser White's kind of the guy if he's healthy, obviously, and then you got the Thumper and Barnes and Mac Wilson and whatever, and those guys aren't necessarily world beaters, but he can sit behind and learn and maybe get a shot in year 2 or something if he proves to develop some of the things that he needs to clean up. So how about you?
yeah, I had Arizona as well. So
Did you really?
yeah, only because I wanted somewhere that the path to playing time would eventually be like a positive for him, right? Like that there would
Yes.
be a
Yes.
nice path to playing time.
Yep.
Like I have a hard time seeing him kind of beating out some of the other linebackers in the NFL, right, for
Mhm.
starting jobs. So I
Yep.
wanted that path for him to be a little bit easier because, like I said, like I like the aggression. I think there's potential there. I
Mhm.
think the NFL teams are going to value that kind of experience as well. So, yeah, I don't mind the Arizona spot. Like Chris Barnes and Mac Wilson or kind
Yeah.
of whatever, right? So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, there's potential there.
Look at us, man.